Hi everyone. Good to see you on my channel today. Today I will tell you a wonderful story. It is full of love and kindness. I hope you enjoy it and I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. Thank you.
Hiring a housekeeper for herself, she was shocked when her son's girlfriend walked into the house, which Selena sighed heavily. Yeah, what an Addams family. If I'd seen them from the outside, I'd never have realized what could be going on inside the walls of this house. There was nowhere to go. Almost all the cards were revealed. I know who you are, you bitch. I know all about you, Barbara retorted. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her hands fumbled around the antique table, trying to find something to throw at the villain. A bird's eye view of the village would make you think that all the houses were printed on a giant printer, all the saying similar. Brown roofs, green hedges, expensive flower beds, the color of the walls. It seemed that the architect, being in a bad mood, decided to make the most failed plan of the village and buildings in his life. Selena looked at the pictures. Paradise Corner. That was the name of the settlement for rich people who don't count money. But judging by what had happened there recently, this settlement couldn't be called that. It should be called Hell's Cauldron. Selena was a famous detective who had solved many of N-Town's tangled stories. She was not at all like a person who possessed nerves of steel and iron grip. But this is only at first glance. The girl graduated from the police academy in the capital of our homeland. But conquer the criminal case was not in a hurry. It is much more interesting to unravel the intricate tangle of crimes than to write off hanging, sitting in a musty room cops. Selena opened her detective agency Eagle Eye recently. Health partner, John, a man very stately and in love with Selena. Of course, the girl knew it, but she had her own plans for life. John was the son of a rich banker, so he was able to rent a room and purchase the necessary furniture, supplies, advertising, and a lot of nonsense, without which you cannot exist detective agency. Naturally, John's main condition was cooperation. Selena had to dedicate the guy in all matters concerning the investigation of cases. The girl did not like this arrangement, but she refused. Would not be a detective agency Eagle Eye. Selena has successfully solved many cases involving robbery, child abduction, and even murder. Therefore, to the young detective quickly lined up a queue of people who could not find the truth with the help of the police. The other day, Selena received a phone call. The woman's voice in the receiver trembled. Speech was unintelligible, so Selena politely offered to discuss everything on the spot in the agency. The client arrived the same day. She was in mourning, a tightly tied black scarf on her head, bruises under her eyes, pale face. Good afternoon. My name is Ariana. I called you today, frantically blowing her nose into a handkerchief, said the woman. I need your help in a very sensitive case. The police, unfortunately, couldn't do anything. My daughter has died. My condolences, Selena said quickly. She picked up a small tape recorder and turned it on. If you don't mind, I'm going to record our conversation so that I don't miss any details. Yes, of course. Do as you please. Selena, you're my last hope. Everyone's been bribed. I'm being lied to. I can't believe my little girl died of a stroke. She was so young. It's all so strange. Don't rush, Selena replied, fixing a stray strand of hair. Tell the story thoughtfully. Start from the beginning. Would you like some tea or coffee? Just water, Ariana sobbed. Selena poured water from a carafe and set it in front of the woman. My Catherine has always been a very obedient girl, Ariana began, always studying well. She finished school with a gold medal. My husband and I decided to send her to the capital to study. We have a lot of money. Back in the noughties, we opened our own store selling clothes from Turkey. Ekaterina studied diligently. On weekends, she always came home. Everything was fine until she and her girlfriend did not get to that unfortunate birthday. More on that, Selena said. The beginning of the story said absolutely nothing criminal. The birthday party was celebrated by one of the main majors of the town, Harry. He and his parents live in the cottage village Paradise Corner. My Catherine and her friend were also invited. After this holiday, my daughter as if replaced. She began to meet with this Harry. He turned her head. The thing is, everyone in town knows the kid's a real womanizer. He'll play around and then he'll dump her. Catherine was relentless. That loves him, and that's it. Even you shatter. She started disappearing to Harry's house a lot. With me in general, terrible communication. Came from him and quarreled with me. One day Harry asked Catherine to stay at his house, and she stupidly agreed. I never saw her alive again, Ariana sobbed, her shoulders shaking. How did it happen? Did Harry give you the details? What was the outcome of the autopsy? Asked Selena. The story was taking very mysterious turns. The official cause of death was a stroke. But what kind of stroke could a young and healthy girl have? My Catherine was an athlete with a perfectly healthy heart. I'm sure Harry had something to do with my little girl's death. And I want justice, finished Ariana loudly. She took out her handkerchief again, wet with tears, and wiped her nose with it. Then she sipped some water from the glass and continued. The police, Harry, must have been bribed, because no leads other than stroke were considered. The case was closed, but I don't believe the official version. Help me, please. And I'll thank you well, Ariana said. Selena was silent for a minute. Yes, an interesting case, but it was worth it to unravel another tangle. What if the girl really died for another reason? All right, I'll take the case. I'll need all the information you have from the police investigation. Any references, Catherine's friends and girlfriends, and half the money for my work. Selena wrote the cost of her service on a piece of paper, and Ariana nodded affirmatively. I am waiting for you the day after tomorrow at the agency, with all the documents, the girl replied. When Ariana left, Selena quickly opened her laptop and started looking for information about Harry. A wealthy family, Harry's mother and father are the founders of a bank. The son is a major who spends money left and right. Here's the mother's social networking page. Katie. In the photo posed statuesque and very beautiful woman with a commanding gaze. It was Kathy's gaze that mesmerized and frightened at the same time. Selena left the agency building well past midnight. All this time she had been making a plan of action and investigation. But all the paths led to one dead end. There are no documents on the official version of the investigation yet. We have to wait. The phone in her pocket vibrated. It was John. Where are you walking? The man yelled cheerfully. I just got home from work, Selena said tiredly. What do you want? Ooh, so we'll be investigating a new case soon. John's voice sounded solemn. I've been waiting for you under the driveway for hours. Selena sighed. John liked to go for a nice walk a few times a month to take his mind off things. He and Selena visited the most expensive clubs and restaurants. The guy left in these places almost 2 months' salary of a regular accountant. Oh God, today is such a day. He's dragging me out again, Selena guessed. She had a bad headache and wanted to sleep. Warda, I feel so bad. It's been such a hard day, Selena began, but the boy interrupted her. No excuses. You have to come with me to the club. Your favorite band is playing there tonight. The girl grimaced to herself. It was a good thing John hadn't called via video link. He wouldn't have liked Celine's disgruntled look. Okay, she stretched out, just not for long. Dictate an address, I'll pick you up, the guy mumbled satisfactorily. Morning knocked lazily on the window. Selena got up quickly. Her head was buzzing mercilessly. Yesterday's rest at the club was making itself felt. Nearby, throwing his hands behind his head, lay Borgia and smiled broadly. Well, how are you? It turns out, know how to rest. You'll see later. I filmed you on my phone. What you did yesterday on the bar. Selena moaned loudly. Oh, no. I warned you, I'm not allowed to use. It was worth it for a night like this. We didn't have anything. Selena looked up from her blanket in horror. Thank God her pajamas were still in place. No, of course. John's eyebrows rose in surprise. Even though you're so damn attractive, it would be a sin to use your body in such a deplorable state. I just took you in a cab, put you to bed, and kept watch. So you wouldn't do anything again, you hooligan. Borgia kissed Selena on the cheek and went to the kitchen to look for something for breakfast. Selena slowly picked up her phone. She found the latest videos and photos. There's John. That's the real dirt. Here's her chasing the dancer off the pylon and trying to striptease. And further, knocking bottles off the bar with her beautiful stilettos. The last photo caught my attention. It shows John, Selena, and another guy with a girl. The young man's face seemed familiar. War, come here for a moment, Selena called him. He entered the bedroom with a large tray. On the tray was a glass of soda, and croissants and coffee. Mr. Antipomelin rushed to the rescue. John raised one fist up in a funny way, playing the hero. John, tell me, who's in this picture? Selena put the phone in the guy's hands. Oh, That's my friend Harry with his next girlfriend. You danced with him last night, too. Sweetheart, don't you remember anything? Selena shrugged. John, revealing his perfect white teeth, laughed loudly. Her head began to buzz again. Selena rummaged through her bedside table and found an aspirin. Sipped some of the soda. Now we'd have to wait for the pain to go away, then breakfast. The thing is, a woman came to see me yesterday. She's the mother of Harry's ex-girlfriend. Her daughter died in mysterious circumstances. I've decided to take the case. You haven't heard anything about it, by any chance? Wow, John exhaled, rubbing his hands together. What a case this is. No, Selena's an aspirant. I know that his ex-girlfriend's moved on, but that's about it. This Catherine's mother's supposed to bring in all the paperwork on the deceased case one of these days. She and I agreed on a pretty decent sum for my services. I just don't know where to start. There's not a lot of information about Harry's family on social media. Maybe you, as Harry's friend, have something useful. Alas, darling, the Harrys are careful to know what they can show in public and what's best hidden away in the back of a closet. Unless you live with their family, you won't be able to solve this dead girl mystery. What am I supposed to do now? Selena was visibly depressed. Well, what would you do without me? John smiled slyly. You're a very lucky man. Harry's mother recently kicked another housekeeper out of the mansion. We can try to get her through a recruitment agency for rich majors. But the mistress has to like you. Otherwise, your whole business will be over. Barbara and her husband like everything neat and tidy. I was lucky enough to be in their house once. Everything's in order, not a speck of dust in sight. You don't think she'll realize I'm a sitting duck? Of course it's a good idea. The main thing is to get into the house, gain her trust, and then we can investigate. So what do you say? Shall we try it? John asked her. He was already devouring buns from the tray. Selena hurried to join him. Okay, but I have to talk to Ariana first, Selena said, and get copies of the documents. Maybe I'll find something interesting there. My head was almost gone. The croissant smelled so appetizing that the young people ate every last crumb. Turns out you can be useful, Major, Selena thought and smiled to herself. It didn't take long for Ariana to realize it. The next day she brought copies of all the certificates and documents to the Evil Eye Agency. Selena, putting on her fancy glasses with thin gold frames, familiarized herself with the contents in detail. It's all very strange. She snapped her fingertips, and judging by the autopsy results, she should have had heart problems long ago. You say she was fine? More than fine, Ariana exclaimed. Catherine had never complained about her health. Did the police really get paid? And how much money did it take for the honest justice officials to be able to hush up a sensitive case? Thought Selena. Selena initiated the woman into her future plans. Ariana was surprised and dumbfounded by this turn of events, but Selena assured her that everything should go well. It won't affect the fees, Selena said, and Ariana breathed a sigh of relief. If I make it to the settlement, you and I probably won't be able to see each other very often. Whether the phone calls in Harry's family are tapped is also a mystery for now. Wait for my call. Don't call me yourself. If anything, I don't know you. You've never met me. Ariana nodded affirmatively. The next morning, an excited John was already ringing Selena's doorbell. I've arranged with the secretary of the Lily of the Valley firm. That's where Barbara recruits most of her staff from, he said as Selena poured coffee into cups. The girl was preoccupied with something, and the guy noticed it. What if something goes wrong? If they find out I'm not who I say I am? Don't pretend to be. Don't worry, I'll try to visit Harry more often to make sure you're safe. Remember, the most important thing is that the household believes you're a real housekeeper with experience. Pack your things. No time to waste, or they'll hire someone else to take your place. John helped Selena pack everything she needed, quickly packed the suitcase in the trunk of his foreign car, and they rushed down the busy road. The Lily of the Valley Agency was one of the most elite establishments where you could hire maids with a lot of experience and specialized training. John handed Selena a fake certificate of completion of a housewife's course and references from a previous job. Study this in detail so you don't get into any trouble when the landlady asks, he advised. But how did you? Don't ask, John smiled. I promised the pretty secretary a wonderful evening at the swankiest restaurant in town. So you'll owe me one. The guy winked. Selena raised her eyebrows in surprise. Sometimes John can be quite the help, she thought and started reading her resume. Julia, born in 1991, graduated from specialty courses, was a housekeeper for a family. Everything swam in front of her eyes. She was Julian now. That's great. I must learn to respond to that name so that they don't notice the switch. Where is Julia now? She asked John thoughtfully. She went to her relatives in Tver and got pregnant by her master. So the case was hushed up. She was sent away so as not to spoil the reputation of the rich family. Selena shivered. Not a good start. But a detective should be able to do everything, even work under someone else's name. She had promised Ariana that she would find the truth. So, Julia, are you ready? Did you read the questionnaire? Barbara will be here any minute. You've got to do something to make her choose you. Selena asked, are there any other candidates? Of course, John replied, 5 more charming young girls. I suggest you change into a more modest outfit and put your hair in a tight bun. Barbara likes order. Selena quickly changed her clothes and did as the boy advised. Half an hour later, the rich mistress was already at the agency. Barbara changed housekeepers like gloves, so the other girls said. Selena's heart dropped. Come on, think of something so she'll hire just you. Everything inside her screamed. The receptionist at the Lily of the Valley agency asked the girls to line up in an even row. When the woman entered the room, Selena knew at a glance what kind of person she was. Barbara, tall and slender, had a commanding and magnetic look about her. Her voice was loud and commanding. She stopped in front of the potential housekeepers and asked the receptionist for all the girls' resumes. Barbara studied the papers for a long time, then looked up sharply and said, I've chosen. Who is Maria? That's it. Well, what can I do? Selena's eyes raced. I've got it. Barbara, may I speak to you? You're making a big mistake hiring this housekeeper. Selena stepped forward and continued. I used to work in the same big mansion with Sidorova. So I'll tell you. She stole groceries more than once and took them out of the village. The girls awed and whispered, and Maria, white with anger, shrieked. She's lying. I didn't steal anything. I have an excellent reputation. But Barbara paid no attention to Maria. Her scrutinizing gaze rested on Selena. You? It's strange. I've never seen you in this agency before. And you look better than the others. All right. You'll work for me. We'll see what happens. Maybe you're the one who's stealing and you're the one who told on your friend. Barbara smiled broadly, revealing large white teeth. Maria whispered curses, but Selena didn't care. Her plan had come to fruition. Now the main thing was not to give herself away. The hostess spoke to the receptionist for a couple more minutes, then nodded to Selena and headed for the exit. Selena, showing her tongue to the other girls, quickly picked up her heavy suitcase and followed Barbara. A luxury car of the latest model was waiting for her at that exit. Selena was about to open the doors, but Barbara stopped her with a wave of her hand. You'll take the other car. The servants are not allowed to ride with the owners. The exception is our guard. You can't say anything. Selena thought and looked around. Julia, was being accosted by a handsome man. Selena drove to the Paradise Corner settlement in a domestically made ramshackle car. My name is Austin. The man introduced himself, looking in the rearview mirror at Selena. It's nice to see new faces in our home. I hope you are familiar with the character of our hostess. Julia, replied the girl, judging by her appearance, she is a very strict person. You're right, Austin winked. My advice to you is not to fall for her son. If you go missing, your family won't find you. Austin was suddenly silent, and they rode in silence the rest of the way. Paradise Corner was closely guarded. No one could pass through. A wide and long fence led along the entire territory of the cottage village. At the entrance, 2 guards in full armor. Selena memorized everything carefully. Wow, you have security here, she said to Austin. He nodded affirmatively. The villagers don't like uninvited guests. Every visitor is registered in a book. The guards have the book, so don't try to escape. They won't let you out that easily. Austin smiled, and Selena didn't know if he was joking or telling the truth. But the whole thing is creepy. The car stopped in the backyard of a posh mansion. The house looked like an old castle. Tall towers, special masonry walls. Selena froze at the entrance for a moment. The house amazed her. She had seen such buildings only in pictures of children's fairy tales. Austin gently pushed Selena towards the entrance and wished her good luck. Selena hesitantly entered the building. Well, how chic and expensive everything was. What a huge kitchen. Marble floors, mirrored ceilings. Suddenly, a strong hand grabbed her shoulder. "Barbara!" The woman took Selena into the living room, where the rest of the servants were already lined up. Selena scrutinized the even formation consisting of 2 guards, 3 drivers, a fat cook, a laundress, and a housekeeper. All the women wore the same uniform, a white bonnet, a dark brown dress with a sheer lace apron over it. On their feet were black patent shoes without heels. The guards and drivers wore blue overalls and the same patent shoes. All looked down sternly, not daring to raise their eyes to the hostess and the new girl. Barbara, smiling contentedly, introduced Selena. "Dear ones, there is a newcomer to your friendly staff today. Please love and welcome Julia. She will replace our previous housekeeper." Sure. And Harry's gonna have some fun too. Fresh meat, the sullen cook muttered. Everyone nodded. "You know very well that such talk will get you fired without reinstatement." Barbara's voice changed from honeyed and gentle to dry and commanding. "Julian, you will come to my office this afternoon," Barbara said, glaring at the cook. Julian apparently realized what the management would be talking to her about, so she quickly slumped her head into her shoulders and lowered her gaze to the floor. Selena looked around the staff curiously. The guards were all well built, pumped up, slim, and stern. The cook and laundress were like twins, equally plump, with kind eyes. The housekeeper is like an old mantis, a dried-up and decrepit woman on the threshold of old age. But the housekeeper's unkind look did not please the girl. "Martha, will you please show Julia to her room?" Turning to the housekeeper, Barbara said, "Issue her bedding and tell her her duties. Julia, when you've laid out your things and changed into your uniform, come and see me. We'll discuss your salary." "But my salary has already been set at the agency where you hired me," Selena wondered. "There's something wrong here." "Of course," Barbara said wryly, "but we haven't talked about extra services. Don't waste time, go to your room and get changed. Martha, take her upstairs." Barbara waved to the rest of the staff, a gesture that obviously meant the introductions were over. It seems that getting to know each other and finding out anything here is going to be very difficult. Well, nothing, we'll see, Selena thought as she climbed the steep spiral staircase upstairs. Martha showed the girl to her small room. The room looked more like a closet because it was in the attic part of the house. There was an old iron bed, a chest of drawers, and a desk with a chair by the window. Nothing else. "You can stay here, Julia," Martha said politely, pointing to the bed, "and the laundress will bring your linen. Keep it clean and change it as needed. You will ask our mistress all your questions when you are cleaned up. Tell me, Martha, I don't know your patronymic." "Martha. Tell me, Martha, is it the custom here to address a stranger as you?" The old housekeeper pressed her lips together. "You know, Julia, only the strongest of spirits can stand it. Barbara is a very wise woman, and she keeps only a select few around her. I have served her faithfully for over 15 years, and in all that time she has never doubted my politeness or the right attitude toward her servants. Not once has she ever punished me. So, girl, it's not for you to tell me how to treat anyone." Martha turned abruptly and disappeared behind the door. Selena froze with the suitcase by the dresser. "Wow," she said to herself, "what kind of people live here? It's like I'm in the Middle Ages." When she had laid out her things and made her bed, she put on the uniform that the courteous washerwoman had brought her. Without a word, the woman placed the clothes on the bed, nodded, and disappeared like a shadow. The servants here walked silently. That meant that anything could definitely happen in this mansion. Insidious scheming, deceit, treason, and murder. Maybe more than one. Where, for instance, had the old housekeeper gone? Barbara was drinking tea from a china mug and eating an eclair. When Selena knocked on her door, the landlady quickly set aside her snack and wiped her fingers with a damp napkin. "So, Julia, do you like our house?" "Thank you. I've only been in my room so far, but I'm sure it's gorgeous and very old." "Yes, it's beautiful. It used to belong to my great-grandmother. During World War II, the Nazis took over the mansion, but after the defeat of the German army, the house survived. I didn't invite you into my office to discuss your job duties. You already know them." Yes, Selena knew them: to keep the house clean, to clean the household, to set the table before meals, to serve the mistress and her family. By the way, where is Barbara and Harry's husband? You probably know that we are the owners of a huge inheritance. We keep our valuables safe and don't show our lives to the common people, Barbara began. Her voice sounded assertive. That's why you should know that any gossip about our family is a direct way to be reprimanded and fired. All phone calls are tapped. Keep that in mind. In general, anything you see or hear here must stay within the walls of the house. Now about the case. I wanted to offer you an additional income. It will be necessary to inform about the condition of all my subordinates. Are you suggesting that I snitch on my colleagues? The girl asked bluntly. Why are you so harsh? The hostess smiled wryly, not to snitch, but to share with me the mood of the staff. I should know what's being said behind my back. Of course. You just want me to be a snitch, you sly toad, Selena thought and answered aloud. Am I allowed to think? Of course, Barbara realized I didn't expect such a quick answer. Think it over. Weigh it, and then you and I will make a deal. She smiled, but Selena saw something devilish, unkind in that smile. Now you can go about your duties. Go to Martha and get what you need for your work. When Selena left, Barbara exhaled deeply and said to herself, either she's stupid or she's too smart. It's okay, Julia, I'll find out who you really are. John called the girl deep in the middle of the night. He promised that he would soon come to visit Harry. Harry arrived home late. He was drunk. Harry's father showed up after midnight. Selena could hear Barbara yelling and cursing. The tired girl fell asleep in the morning. Julian, what's the matter? Yelled Barbara, you've overdried the meat again. Maybe it's time to replace you. Get out of my sight, you brainless bitch. Julian picked up the pieces of roast that were lying on the floor, a tray, and whirled out of the dining room. Harry chuckled at the sight of such a scene. He obviously thought this morning's squabble was funny. He looked at Selena and his eyes lit up. Barry, Barbara's husband, sniffled unhappily as he looked at his wife. Darling, can't you get off your butt and cook something yourself sometimes? He asked his wife calmly. No, Daddy, she can't. Mom's too busy lying on the couch. Barbara pounded her fist on the table. Son, you know that. I'm sick right now. Mom, you're always sick. Okay, I'm off. Expect us to visit tonight. The hostess changed her face. Who? Us? Who else are you going to bring? Harry was very much like his mother in personality. That's why he liked to piss her off. His new girlfriend. You don't dare bring another prostitute, his mother shrieked, her hands shaking. Barry tried to calm her down, but it was in vain. I dare you. You got the old one down, but you won't treat the new one like that. Trust me. Harry finished his coffee and left the dining room. Selena looked up at him curiously as she cleaned up the grease from the roast. What was he talking about? Who was swatting who? Baby, bye. Harry winked at her and slammed the front door. There was the sound of a car engine slowly moving away. Darling, burst into tears Barbara. I can't go on like this. He wants me dead. What's this all for? My darling, let's go to the bedroom. I'll give you a sedative. Barry took his wife under his arm, and they retired to one of the far rooms. When Barbara's husband came out of there, Selena was cleaning the hallway. You didn't hear anything this morning. Do you understand me? He hissed, looking Selena in the eye. She decided not to argue. Of course, Barry. I didn't hear anything. Everything was fine. You had breakfast and went about your business. The girl, growled the satisfied host. He got dressed and left for work. Selena had been serving at Harry's house for 2 months now. In that time, she had gotten to know the rest of the servants. Martha, who looked like a strict housekeeper, was a very simple-minded woman. She liked to go for long walks in the fresh air, and Selena often asked to go for a walk in the park with her. You know, I don't have a mom. And you look so much like her, Selena sobbed, and Martha's heart melted. She became more attached to the housekeeper, and Selena was thus able to learn all the information about Harry's family members. Julian, a cook with experience, had disliked Selena from the first day. Selena recognized the woman's weak spot. Julian liked expensive alcohol. Therefore, the girl, in one of the cloudy evenings, visited the room where the cook lived and treated her with expensive cognac. The cognac was brought to Selena by John. The plump cook told Selena that strange things were happening at the mansion. All of Harry's girls are dying in a strange way, from a heart attack, but Julian didn't believe it. She thought that the girls are killed by the son of the mistress himself, and the mother and father cover up the atrocities of their child. Selena decided to herself that Julian was the main ears of the house, so the cook must always be kept on the hook. The fat and pitiful laundress, Maria, worked in the basement and rarely came out. Selena had a bad rapport with her, but from Julian, Selena knew that Maria had a daughter and had worked in the house before. Then she had died under strange circumstances. Maria was quiet and didn't share her life story with anyone. The guards had little interest in Selena, but Selena knew they were probably the main witnesses who might know the truth about what was going on with the girls in the mansion. There would have to be a clever way to collect the camera footage. One of the men, Billy, was younger than the others. He could be approached. How Selena hadn't figured out yet. The drivers, Mickey and Victor, were twins, and Selena often confused them. John started coming to Harry's house more often, and he and Harry would play pool or watch movie premieres. He and Selena learned to communicate by phone using a special cipher. Some words were replaced by others, but the meaning of the information could be grasped. John, in turn, was interested in Harry's affairs in life. Selena never agreed to Barbara's additional income. The landlady did not appreciate such a decision. From the servants, Selena learned that such an offer the mistress gave to each of the workers of the house, but no one dared to take such a step. Whistleblowers are not liked. Snitches are quietly put away. Every day of her life in Harry's house, the detective recorded on a small dictaphone. It was necessary to filter information and memorize every detail. Also, the cunning housekeeper was able to install several tiny recording cameras when she cleaned the rooms of the owners and Harry. The main thing was to make sure no one noticed the peepholes. The first plans had come to fruition. Now she needed to gain the trust of the young guard. Selena's thoughts were interrupted by a loud laughter. Harry walked into the hallway, holding the hand of a young girl. She was dressed in an expensive mink coat and leather boots. Selena had a good eye for quality things. "Oh, hello," waved Harry cheerfully, gathering on the table. "I'll be introducing Mom and Dad to my future wife." Selena could smell the alcohol coming from the guy. "You need to keep your eyes open now." Barbara slowly entered the hallway. Her head was covered with a tight towel. Her mistress hadn't been feeling well all day. Barry had returned early from work today and was sitting in his study, but the shouting and noise in the hallway had forced his master to come downstairs. "Harry, what are you doing here?" he asked, sighing noisily. "Mother's been down with headaches since this morning. Take the young lady home and we'll get to know each other tomorrow." "I wouldn't dream of it," Harry shouted cheerfully. "If you don't want to get acquainted tonight, then this young lady will sleep at our house and we'll get acquainted at breakfast." The girl smiled politely at Barbara and Barry. The master looked at Selena with a murderous look, and she realized what she had to do. "Julia, tell Julian not to put alcohol on the table," whispered Barbara to Selena. "Julia, tell Julian to put more alcohol on the table. We're having a party tonight." "Right, sweetheart." The girl smiled fearfully and nodded. Barbara motioned to go into the dining room. The woman was pale and often clung to her temples. Barry sat down at the head of the table with a stone face. A new person was not welcome in this house. Selena carried the dishes and kept overhearing the conversation between the four Harrys. "Honey, don't worry, we'll get her out of here in no time," Barry whispered to Barbara. "It's not the way I'd like it to be today." "I don't think I can survive 1 minute with that prostitute," Barbara hissed. "Where did he pick her up?" Harry, red either from joy or drink, tended to his girlfriend in the hallway. Selena helped hang up his clothes. Harry's new date was very pretty and sophisticated. I wouldn't have thought she looked like a girl of easy virtue. Probably a high-class person. Maybe Harry's girlfriend. Selena took out her recorder and quietly placed it on the mantel, covering a framed photograph. "Okay, great. Now you don't have to worry about any information floating past your ears." Meanwhile, dinner was served and everyone gathered around the table. Selena stopped a little farther back behind her hosts. She had to carry the dirty plates into the kitchen. "Mommy," began Harry, "my dear, let me introduce you to my new future wife. Her name is Angelica. She is very wealthy, so can you please leave your barbs behind and for once in your life accept my choice?" Angelica was obviously feeling a little out of place. She blushed thickly and looked at Harry expressively, but he went on as if nothing had happened. "Mother, she's going to live with us. Since I am the heir to this house, I have the right to decide who lives here." "Daddy, you're not going to let Mommy hurt my fiancée, are you? Like she did to Catherine?" "Shut up," yelled Barry. His face turned purple and he thumped the plate with force. It shattered and fell to the floor. Selena hurried to pick up the shards. Whoa, things are starting to take a turn for the worse. Ariana, Catherine's mother, thinks Harry killed her daughter. but maybe there's more to it than meets the eye. Dad, don't scare Angelica, Harry began in a resentful tone, but Barbara interrupted him. Son, you're scaring your fiancée. Why would she tell you about your ex-girlfriend, who didn't lead a very decent life? Cheating on you with a security guard. Angelica comes from a very intelligent and respectable family. Darling, have dinner with us. Barbara, with an anaconda's gaze, began to put meat and potatoes on her guest's plate. Angelica smiled. Thank you, Barbara, but I don't eat that much. I'm watching my figure. Harry doesn't like fat people. Barbara smiled wryly and whispered to Selena, go to Julian's kitchen and help her decorate the dessert. It's clear. The hostess doesn't want any extra ears in the dining room. Selena smiled and walked out. The recorder will record everything. It was hot in the kitchen. Julian was sitting at the table drinking tea. Did you bring another victim? The woman grinned. Do you want tea? Barbara sent me to help decorate the dessert, Selena said. Julian raised an eyebrow in surprise. It's all been done for a long time. Sit down, let's talk. Selena sat down at the table. Julian started. She came to change the lining in your room and found something. The woman held out her palm to Selena. There was a bug on the palm. It must have gotten lost when Selena was pulling out the bag of tiny cameras. How could she be so sloppy? But I had to find a way out. I don't know. Probably a camera, Selena shrugged. But Julian continued her interrogation. I can see that it's a spy camera. How did it end up in your room? Probably the owners want to test me for honesty. So they put it there. Selena tried to evade. Girl, do you think I'm a fool? The cook smiled. I can see from your face that you're not a housekeeper for hire. You don't know how to clean professionally. You don't know how to serve the owners. Who are you and where did you come from? Tell me, or I'll have to tell my guesses to the owners. Julian poured herself more tea and looked questioningly at Selena. What to do? How could I have blundered like that? Due to my busy work schedule, I forgot to change the laundry myself. What else could the laundress have seen in there? Selena pondered chaotically, but there was nowhere to go. Julian could really tell the owners everything, and then the whole plan would fail. One must tell the truth. Yes, you're right, Selena said after a moment. I'm not who I say I am. But I didn't get here by accident. I'm investigating the mysterious death of Catherine, Harry's ex-girlfriend. She recently passed away right here in the house. The girl's mother doesn't believe Catherine could have died of a stroke. Her daughter was perfectly healthy. And my name isn't Julia, it's Selena. Selena. Wow, whistled Julian. And why did not you tell anything about yourself before? Selena looked at the woman in surprise. Logic was definitely not Julian's strong suit. I didn't know anything about you. You could have turned me in, and then I would never have known the truth about the murder. The cook was looking at Selena very carefully, hesitating whether to believe this version or not. Suddenly she said excitedly, Selena, so I know you. I've heard about your agency many times. John, Harry's friend, is your partner. Selena nodded in agreement. Yes, John and I have decided that I need to infiltrate Harry's mansion and get the facts. I need all the security footage from the guards' cameras. I want to see if there's any footage of Catherine's murder, but there's no way I can gain the trust of any of them. I've known Barbara and her husband for years. They could be hiding their son's evil deeds. Harry's strange too, changing girls like a glove. How many girls has Harry's son had? And all of them disappearing in the middle of nowhere? Fuck you, Julian exclaimed delightedly, but Selena shushed her. Harry might have heard. Julian, you have to promise me you won't tell anyone. No one about me or my case, not even the laundress. No one but us can know who I really am. Swear it. Come on, darling. I'll never give you up. I promise to help you with your case. I too feel sorry for all the girls of that young tyrant. There were so many of them, all from rich families. I don't know where they disappeared to, but Barbara never accepted any potential bride into her family. Julia, dessert. It came from the dining room. Come on, girl. I'll keep our secret. Julian put her arm around Selena. The housekeeper took a beautiful tray of cheesecake and left the kitchen. The air in the dining room was tense. It seemed as if lightning was about to fly from Barbara's eyes. Barry stared blankly at the ceiling. The girl served dessert. She managed to sneak over to the fireplace and get the tape recorder. She wondered what they were talking about. When dinner was over, Selena quickly cleaned up the dining room and hurried to her room. In her hand, she clutched the dictaphone, but when the girl entered the bedroom, she cried out in surprise. Sitting on the bed was Harry. "Hello, little bird," he said and smiled. Selena froze at the door. What is he doing here? After all, the girl had seen with her own eyes how he, along with Angelica, went to his apartment. What does he want? Don't shake. I came to you with a proposition. You see, my mother is in a bad mood about my new girlfriend. I'll make you a deal. You tell me everything you hear about me and Lara from my parents, and I'll pay you good money. Deal? Selena sighed. What mother and son? The same. What if Barbara finds out about this? She won't find out. Harry moved closer to Selena and patted the girl on the cheek. If you don't blab it, I hope you're smart. I'm a grave. It's not in my best interest to ruin my own life in the mansion. All right, I'll give it a try, Selena sighed. How timely this all is. Harry winked happily and quickly walked out of the bedroom. The girl shut the door tightly, lay with her head under the covers, and turned on the recorder. Harry, how nice of you to bring such a young lady into the house again. Angelica, do you like it here? Are your pants not stiff after dinner? Came Barbara's voice. I'm fine. Thank you, Angelica replied confidently and without a tremor in her voice. I really like your cozy home. I live in the center of town and this cottage community is my first time. Your house really stands out among the others. I hope when you come to my parents' house to meet them, you'll appreciate our mansion too. Oh honey, I hope that doesn't happen. It was the landlady again, her voice lusciously venomous. Mommy, take it easy. If you want to see your little boy home once in a while, don't make me have to pack my bags and leave home again. The recorder was silent for a minute. Then a sobbing sounded. Harry, don't say that. Let Angelica stay with us as long as she wants. As long as you don't go away. Okay, Mommy. Calm down, I'm not going anywhere. Dad, we'll probably go to our place. Barbara, hush, stop it. Sweetheart, I hate her already, if you only knew. I hate all of them. They want to take everything away from Harry and our money. My dear, come on, let's go, I'll give you a pill. Footsteps sounded and the recorder turned off. So much for the recording. Selena thought for a moment. It was strange. Barbara has strong nerves, but something had clearly happened at dinner that had thrown the mansion's owner off balance. We need to get to the bottom of this, only very carefully. There was a persistent knock at the door. Selena wasn't expecting anyone. Who was it? Open up, Selena. It's Juliana. Selena let the woman into the room without a moment's hesitation and locked the door. Julian, please don't shout my name all over the floor. You could be heard. The girl shouted angrily. I'm sorry, stupid, I'm stupid. The woman whimpered. I have a plan to get the security tapes. The whole house. How? Come on, tell me. Julian took Selena's hands. It's simple. Billy, one of the guards, is head over heels in love with you. He confessed it to me the other day when he was having lunch in the kitchen. He's been asking me all sorts of questions about how to approach you. This is our chance. Just return the favor. Selena sighed and sat down on the bed. Playing with love was no joke. It could end very sadly, but it was worth a try. It was a magical winter morning. The first thin snow fell and covered the frozen ground with its lace. The spirit of the upcoming new year was in the sky. Paradise Corner was slowly being dressed up. In some houses, the workers were already at full speed. They put on the roofs and walls of houses LED ribbons, installed figures of snowmen, Santa Claus, and Snow Maiden. Harry's mansion already stood dressed up. The towers were decorated with lights, the windows, elegant lace patterns from special paper. Selena took an active part in all the pre-holiday hustle and bustle, even forgetting for a moment that she was a detective under a false name. During this time, Harry's house became her home. Selena had been nurturing the idea of a relationship for a long time, until Billy once talked to the girl himself when they went to town for groceries. The housekeeper, according to the contract, was supposed to go shopping with an escort. The guard must have asked for it. Nice weather, isn't it? He asked, looking in the rearview mirror. Selena looked the guy straight in the eyes. They were like two hypnotic circles, drawing him inward. Great, I love winter, the girl answered honestly. The driver, Archie, smiled slyly. He switched the wave on the radio. Now the voice of Christina Orbakite was quietly crooning in the cabin. You're not like the other housekeepers. Billy was still looking thoughtfully in the mirror. There's something special about you. Yeah, of course there is. I'm just not who I think I am. That's all. Big deal. A flame was blazing in Selena's soul. And aloud she replied, I don't know, I'm not familiar with former housekeepers, but I can tell you that I'm not very good at cleaning. Billy smiled. They drove the rest of the way to the center in complete silence. Only the music from the stereo disturbed the peace. Archie lit a cigarette and opened the window a little. A stream of cool but refreshing air rushed into the car. Selena sighed with pleasure. Billy glanced at the girl the whole way. At the center, all the Paradise Corner housekeepers bought their groceries from only one single high-end store, Adam and Eve. The first time Selena saw the sign, she laughed heartily. How had she not noticed this storefront before? After all, she had been to the market 1,000 times, and to miss such a name, I wonder who had gotten the idea. Poor Adam and Eve would probably be turning over in their graves for the 1,000th time. But today Selena didn't even look at the sign. She was gazing into the crowd. Oh no! Ariana was staring at her point blank. Now she was going to give Selena away. Ariana waved her arms at Selena. Who's that? Someone you know? Billy asked sympathetically. Selena pleaded with Ariana with one eye. Please don't say my name. Just walk past me, please. The woman caught Selena's pleading gaze, gave a friendly nod to the guard, and disappeared into the crowd. Selena exhaled loudly. Whew. She almost got hooked like a huge fish. Gotta be more careful. Billy said to hurry up, and they entered the Adam and Eve store. Wandering by the grocery shelves, Selena kept feeling Billy's breath on her neck. It was time for this to stop. The girl turned around abruptly. She met the boy's eyes and read devotion and love in them. How about we take a walk in the park tonight? Will we finish our work? The boy muttered. I don't mind, Selena replied politely. She really didn't want to deceive the guard's feelings, but sacrifices had to be made for the sake of the cause. If she pretended to be in love, she would have access to any information. Billy smiled and took Selena's hand. That's so cute, just like high school. Selena's first love had been just as naive. Her classmate had never dared to approach Selena, but she was the first to tell him how she felt. And as in well-known fairy tales, all should have lived happily ever after, but not so. Turns out, a classmate had bet his friend that he'd woo Selena. Oh, she cried so hard. Apparently, the first unhappy love left its bitter traces in Selena's soul. She could not meet anyone for more than 6 months. Now it was a relationship game. In the evening, Billy was waiting for the girl at the entrance. He was holding a modest bouquet of roses. The flowers gave off a great fragrance. Strange, roses are not like those sold in flower stores. Those don't smell so strong. Barbara grows these flowers herself. She was kind enough to cut a few sprigs for me. Here you go, Billy said cheerfully. Thank you, said Selena, who was blushing. They walked leisurely down the path to the park. Billy, I'm sorry to be blunt, but I don't quite understand what's going on in our mansion. Barbara and Barry seemed like a very intelligent couple at first. Until I met their son, Harry. It's like he's deliberately pissing off his parents. Why would he do that? Harry's got nothing to spare. Fly to the islands, buy up all the fancy cars in town. He's got girls all ready to fall at his feet. You've been looking at him too, Billy said, because it's my job to watch everybody. Well, you've got your eye on him, and he sees that and he's flirting. Aren't you afraid to be in the shoes of all the other girls? The guard's words startled Selena. What does he mean? No, you're imagining things. I look at everyone like that, Selena muttered and tried to change the subject. They spent the rest of the walk talking about unimportant things. Plans for New Year's Eve, their hobbies. Selena found it hard to make up Julia's story. I wonder how the young man would behave if he found out that it was not Julia, the housekeeper, but Selena, the young detective. Probably he would have ratted out the mistress. Billy led Selena to the entrance of the mansion and said goodbye. Would you like me to show you where I live and work next time? He asked. Bingo. And you don't even have to make up an excuse to get into his den and see where the hard drives are and stealthily take them, and then find a place to rewrite the information to disk. That would be wonderful, the girl replied. She allowed Billy to kiss her cheek. Selena went into her bedroom and laid her head tiredly on her pillow, then dialed John's number. Hello, Selena, is that you? Muttered a sleepy voice sleepily. You can see what time it is. John, the bird is almost caged, mumbled the girl. We need a few more days and we'll catch it. Good for you, replied the voice on the other end of the wire. Go ahead, if anything, call. Selena hung up the phone and was about to doze off, but her peace was interrupted by screams downstairs. "You bastard, how dare you!" Barbara screamed in a fit. She was in her pink nightdress, her bonnet pulled down over her hair. The landlady's face was blue with screaming. Barry held Barbara, preventing her from attacking Angelica. Maria stood nearby. "I will not allow you to hurt the girl," said the laundress in a trembling voice, and covered the girl with her body. "Vitaly, let me go. I'll show her now. Where did you take my son, you bitch? Why did you come home alone?" Angelica sobbed and hid behind the laundress brought back. Selena saw Julian's worried face in the narrow slit of the door. "Okay," yelled the landlady next. "Get the hell out of my house. Stop wasting my money. Don't ever set foot here again. I'll give you 1 minute." Her daughter's name was Olga. She did work here, but I didn't see her. Archie told me everything. Maria had arranged for Lucy to be her assistant. 20-year-old girl changed the linens and brought them to the laundress. The landlady's son had taken a liking to her. I think they even met in the backyard. But then Lucy disappeared. Maria was very sad. She searched for her daughter for a long time, but in vain. No clues. They say that the laundress even wandered through the forest, which is near our village. "What's unusual about that forest?" Selena asked curiously. Billy wrinkled his nose as if remembering. "They say that everything in that forest is enchanted. If you go there, you disappear without a trace. Sometimes you hear screaming and crying from there, the souls of lost people trying to find their way to paradise." Selena laughed. "Billy, you're amazing. I've never laughed so hard in my life. I'm sorry, but this is bullshit. You still believe in spirits and enchanted forests. There's just animals out there. Maybe even wolves. That's why they howl. Think what you want." Billy looked at the girl piercingly. "But I believe in otherworldly forces. And in God and spirits." "All right, I won't argue with you. Stubborn lamb," Selene thought to herself. "You promised to show me the place where you work," Selena smiled. Billy agreed. He showered, changed into his usual security guard uniform, and led the girl to a one-story gray building that was a little to the left of Harry's mansion. There were many rooms in the building. Some of them were living rooms. There were bunks and desks. Others were work cells. Selena caught the room where the monitor stood with one eye. "How interesting, let's go in here." She clapped her hands childishly. "It's not advisable for outsiders to come in here." The young boy frowned. But what could he do if a pretty girl agreed to his proposal? Billy sighed and said, "Come on in." Selena was the first to enter the den. It turned out that the surveillance cameras were not only outside, but also in the living room and corridors of the house. With her eyes, Selena looked for the recording device. The hard disk was at the very bottom, sticking out of the system unit. "What do you think? Interesting?" Billy asked quickly. He clearly didn't like the presence of a stranger in the den. "Did you see it?" "Yes, it's cool." Selena made a surprised face. "I'm shocked." The guard smiled and offered to go to his living room for coffee or tea. Selena agreed. Thoughts were flying chaotically in her head. What to do to get the hard drive out? We should just stay the night at his place. Billy led Selena to a very cozy room. There was a beautiful carved bed in the corner, a desk with a laptop near the window. The floor was decorated with a fluffy white rug. Billy obviously liked comfort. The tea brewed by the guy was surprisingly tasty and fragrant. The guy already wanted to see the girl off, but Selena knew the right thing to do. She stopped Billy with a single glance and approached him closely. The boy's pupils dilated as he touched his lips to the lips of his favorite girl. This was the kind of thing one could only dream of. It was going to be a hot night. Selena cautiously opened her eyes. Billy was sound asleep. "Sure, you should try to stay awake after such a marathon." The girl smiled. She got up, threw the guy's shirt over her naked body, pulled a flash drive out of her pants pocket, and tiptoed out into the hallway. The TV was blaring loudly in one of the living rooms. One had to remember that besides Billy, there were 2 other employees on the property. She wished she didn't have to confront them. How would she explain to them why she was walking around the security housing unit in the nude? The monitor room was open. Bingo! The room's empty, so the rest of the guards are either sleeping or wandering the grounds. There were 2 guards slowly strolling by the fence, so Billy was supposed to be sitting at the monitor today. The girl didn't want the guy to get fired because of her. She'd have to act fast. Selena was good with the computer, so she found the database in 1 minute and put it on download. "We have to wait 5 minutes." "Too long." I hope no one catches me. There was 1 more minute to go. Selena looked at the monitor. There Barry slowly walked down the hallway to the bedroom. Harry and Angelica were nowhere to be seen. But what was that Barbara was doing in the dining room? The hostess on camera was sitting at a table surrounded by a pile of bottles and vials. She was stirring some kind of solution in a bowl. That's odd. Maybe she's making a night mask. What are you doing here? Billy's loud voice came from behind me. Oh no. He noticed it was missing and went to look for it. What to tell him if it's already obvious? Selena slowly took out the flash drive and hid it behind her back. What's going on here? What did you download? Give me the flash drive, the guy yelled. If you come near me, I'll scream. How are you gonna explain what I was doing here? I'm not allowed in here, Selena said calmly. Were you taking advantage of me? Billy asked. There was bitterness in his voice. How could you? I've been good to you. We had great sex. I thought we'd be seeing each other from now on. Why do you need the information from the cameras? Selena didn't answer. To tell the truth about herself or not. Billy was starting to like the girl. It's a shame it had to happen this way. Because I'm not Julia. I'm Selena. Selena. I'm a detective. I'm trying to investigate the disappearance of someone named Catherine, Harry's ex-girlfriend. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to upset you. But I won't tell anyone I was at your place and saw the surveillance system. If you don't tell anyone that I'm not who I say I am. Let's go to my place. Billy took her elbow firmly. Damn it, I like you so much I don't even want to be mad at you. I'll tell you the whole truth. What? The girl's eyebrows slowly crept up. Why all the running around, the deception, when you could just ask the guy, frankly confess everything? Selena walked into the room and sat down on the crumpled bed. Billy stood in front of her and folded his arms in front of his chest. He was gorgeous in the moonlight, but very stern. Where did you come from? Aren't you afraid of death? The guard asked in surprise. I work in a detective agency, Eagle Eye, began the girl. 3 months ago, Catherine's mother, Ariana, came to me. She was in deep mourning. Catherine was Harry's girlfriend. They had been dating for a long time. The daughter had even had a fight with her mother and moved out. Catherine began to live together with Harry outside the house. At first, everything was fine, but then, the sudden death of Catherine from a stroke. Moreover, the girl was absolutely healthy, according to her mother. There was very little information about the family on the internet, so there was nothing left but to infiltrate the house under a false name. My partner and co-owner of the agency, John, helped me with the placement in this home. Billy listened very carefully the whole time. You're crazy, he sighed. You're lucky it happened the way it did, that I found out. If the landlady finds out, you'll never leave this house. Why would I do that? Selena was surprised. And from the fact the guy ran his hands through his hair, that you're completely right. Katya was murdered, and so cunningly that no pathologist will not know the cause. But Catherine wasn't Barbara's only victim. You're saying the landlady killed the girl? Selena exclaimed. I suspected Harry of that. He wanted to get rid of his annoying girlfriend. Boom. That's it. No. Harry's a victim too. Of course, he's a total womanizer. I'm even a little jealous when he stares at you. Jealous, I mean? Billy wrinkled his nose. What's next? She asked curiously, ignoring her boyfriend's state of mind. Let's start at the beginning. I came to work here for one reason. My mother was terminally ill. I needed expensive medicine, treatment. Barbara promised me a lot of money for my work. Of course I agreed. I quickly found a common language with the rest of the staff. I didn't know about what was going on inside the walls of the mansion until I got to the post for the first time. You were there a few minutes ago, Billy frowned. And what did you see? Wailed Selena. Shh. Don't shout like that. My staff might hear us. I saw that Barbara had slipped something into Catherine's glass. The girl didn't live a minute. It all happened in the cafeteria. The cameras recorded it. They made me erase it from the archives. The police, of course, went through the hard drives, but to no avail. Harry was promised a large fee for my silence. Mother was getting worse, so there was nowhere to go. Catherine's not the first girl. When I worked here, every time Harry brought another pretty girl into the house, I knew she couldn't survive here. Barbara would chew her out. Selena couldn't believe her ears. How? Surely everyone knows there are murders in this mansion. The girl's parents, the servants, friends, family relatives. And they don't say a word. But why would Barbara do such a thing? The girls were rich, wealthy, intelligent, didn't smoke or drink alcohol. They must have dressed smartly too. Because the lady of the house has been ill for a long time, the husband hides everything carefully. Sometimes, when it is very difficult, takes his wife to a boarding house. There she's treated and sent home again. After the hospital, Barbara is unrecognizable, but some time passes and the devil comes back. She is terribly jealous of her only son. The jealousy turns into schizophrenia. Oh my God, you don't say anything? Why couldn't you go and tell the police? So many innocent girls died because of your silence. Selena was getting angry. Well, I would have. And goodbye to my mother's peaceful and painless life. Have you never had to sacrifice anything? Billy asked in surprise. Selena wondered. Whether or not one could it or could not be judged for inactivity was a decision for the authorities. It's time to get ready. We have to tell Ariana everything. Billy seemed to read her thoughts. He held her tightly against him and whispered, "Don't you dare. I won't let you go. You must think of other people." All the servants knew about Barbara's antics. What? Are you going to tell on everyone now, you white sheep? Selena looked boldly into Billy's eyes and lashed out with force. Another moment and the guard was on the floor, tightly pinned. I may look like a weak woman, but the will to break free is definitely there, isn't it? Sitting on the guard's back, Selena said cheerfully, "Don't fight it. I'm not going anywhere yet. There's no official proof. And I copied the data for nothing. I won't tell anyone about you. But I need you to help me with something." "What's that?" Billy wheezed. He tried to pull the girl off him, but he was unsuccessful. "We have to team up and catch Barbara doing something illegal together, or get the truth out of her." "How you want to get the truth out of her?" "She's a tough nut to crack. She'll keep her mouth shut even under torture. They don't go to jail for that. Others will." Billy grumbled as Selena slid off him and sat down beside him. "We'll see about that, won't we? Or are you going to be an accessory and witness to her crimes from now on?" "You're a good guy." "Yeah, so good that you decided to even get into bed with me because of the security cameras," growled the guy. But he agreed. Despite that horrible night, Billy was still as attracted to Selena as ever. A satisfied Selena walked out of the security building in the early morning hours. Billy was at his post. He looked at the girl and sighed, all because of women in this world. Selena, sitting in her room, pondered her next steps. One would have to be very careful. She felt that one extra step and a trap for the detective was assured. There was no need to look for an excuse to piss off the landlady. It all happened the next day. Selena was cleaning the living room when an excited cook came into the room. "Follow me," she growled, her round eyes spinning as if afraid of being spotted. "Follow me where?" "Julian, what happened?" whispered Selena. "Billy asked me to bring you in. He's in the backyard. If the guard runs into the house for no good reason, the missus will get suspicious. Go." "Drop your mop." Julian shoved the screaming girl out of the mansion. Selena ran the rest of the way on her own. There he is. He's so handsome. The girl's hair was standing on end with excitement. "What happened? Did you tell the landlady about me?" Selena almost suffocated from her feelings. The girl clenched her hands into fists and threw herself at the guard. Billy squeezed Selena tightly and waited for her to collapse from helplessness. "Why are you fighting right now? I didn't tell you anything. I just wanted to warn you that something's gonna happen tomorrow. Barbara is planning to get rid of Angelique and her grandson. She came to me early this morning and offered me good money for my help." "And you accepted?" Tears glistened on Selena's face. "I knew you were a freak. Even for your own mother's sake. I would have left my mother to die. But I wouldn't kill innocent people. I hate you." Billy stopped her speech. "No, of course not," I agreed. "But only so that I could work with you to expose her personality, her sick nature. That's why we have to stop her together." Selena had an epiphany. "So that's what this is all about." The guard was very wise. "What did she tell you? What's her plan?" "I'm gonna talk fast." Billy took a quick glance around. "Keep in mind Harry doesn't know anything and can't know anything until after we're done. Barbara ordered me to go into the woods today and dig a deep hole. She definitely wants to bury Angelica, to get rid of her. Listen, I've got an idea of what we're going to do. We're gonna do it on the sly. I found the long and spacious box that Angelique can fit in. I'll make a hole in the box and put a sewage pipe in it. That way Angelica can breathe underground. The landlady will probably want to see if I buried her. Then, after 24 hours, as Angelica is buried alive. Then we retrieve her. Angelica comes home, sees the fear in their eyes. Next thing you know, it's riot police. What do you think of that? Wow, I'm shocked, enthusiastically whispered the girl. You could be a born detective. Are we going to tell Angelica about our plans? Yes, but later. The main thing is not to spook her. Cruel as it may be, Angelique will be the bait for the big fish. Barbara. Selena and Billy discuss their plans for another half an hour. Selena must carry the recorder with her at all times and not be separated from it for a minute. There was no telling when the criminal would reveal her cards. It was slowly getting dark. Selena's heart pounded loudly in her chest. Barbara was, surprisingly, cheerful and cheerful. You bet, tomorrow was a holiday, New Year's Eve. Guests and friends would be coming. It's going to be fun. And the mistress will not worry about her unofficial daughter-in-law and grandson. Well, at least until the next meeting. Today Barbara sent her husband and son out shopping for holiday gifts. What a stroke of luck. No one would ever guess what had happened to Angelica. The hostess herself set the table and invited the girl to dine with her. Selena helped and retired to the kitchen at Barbara's behest. Of course, no one must know of the crime. Julian was trembling with fear, but Selena reassured her. The detective knew what would happen next. The cunning hostess had put a strong dose of sleeping pills in the compote. Then it was all in Billy's hands. God, I didn't know I was working for a killer. I'm making her food. If I'd known, I'd have slipped her something, Julian hissed. It's time to bring her to justice. Let's pray everything goes according to plan. Selena told John everything over the phone and enlisted his outside support. If anything went wrong and the girl didn't respond within 24 hours, John was to call the police. Meanwhile, Angelica was already sound asleep, dropping her head on the sofa. Barbara, satisfied with her fine work, was clearing away the evidence of the crime from the table. Through a crack in the door, Selena saw Billy enter the dining room quietly. He took Angelica in his arms like a fluff ball and walked toward the exit. The hostess called Selena over to clean up. Clean the dishes and mop the floors. It's dusty in here, she purred. Where did Angelica go? The housekeeper asked politely, trying not to pretend she knew everything. She had dinner with you. Oh well, these pregnant women are so strange. Angelica felt nauseous and went up to her room. Don't worry about her. It happens a lot to a girl in her condition. Selena, with a sly look, said, I'm going upstairs after all. I'll see if she needs a doctor. Harry called, asking how she was. Barbara went instantly pale. She cried out like a wounded animal. What kind of servants are these people? They're rude and insolent. My dear, I told you. Don't bother Angelique, she's tired. Go, it is better to do your direct duties. Selena, satisfied with Barbara's reaction, silently cleaned up the dining room and hurried to the backyard, where Billy was supposed to be waiting for her. The guard was visibly nervous. Didn't anyone see you? He asked. What took you so long? I was cleaning up the dining room after dinner, Selena sighed. So on with the job. Billy nodded, and they got into the car. The guard checked on Angelica, who was sleeping like a baby. Shortly before this insidious dinner, he had told the girl what was going to happen and how to act. Angelica was deeply shocked, but agreed to help. And now she was to lie in a damp box underground for 24 hours, until New Year's Eve. Don't worry, I brought a bunch of warm blankets and a winter coat. Lara will be warm in the box. Selena clung to the guy's strong arm. Finally, it would all be over soon, and she would be out of this cursed place. The winter forest greeted them with cold and snow. Large snowdrifts lay everywhere. Selene felt a little uneasy, imagining that she was the one being put into a box and covered with earth. The earth was pressing on her head, her chest. The box was cracking at the seams. Brr, what thoughts? We have to chase them away. Everything will be all right. The car stopped in a cozy clearing. Billy got out and stood for a minute, listening to the sounds of the forest. It's nice here in the summer, he mumbled. The girl didn't think so. What if there were more graves? What if the bloodthirsty landlady had set up a whole graveyard of girls here? It's scary to think about. I don't think so, she said. After the landlady is arrested, we should gently hint to the investigating authorities that it would be a good idea to take a walk here, to look at the mounds. You think so? Billy said quietly. He took Selena's hand and squeezed it tightly in his palm. The girl closed her eyes affirmatively. Not far from the car, under a willow tree, a huge black hole gaped. A massive wooden box stood. The guard carefully took out Angelica, who was sleeping soundly, wrapped in blankets, and put the girl in the box. He also threw an old fur coat on top. Selena helped close the lid. You had to be good with a screwdriver. I'm going to put just a little bit of earth on it, so it won't push through the tree. I'll put more snow on top, Billy said in a shaky voice. He put the long flow pipe into the hole he had made in the box and breathed a sigh of relief. It all fit. As wisps of frozen earth fell thuddingly against the lid of the box, Selena felt as if she were attending a real funeral. Just as long as Angelica didn't get hysterical when she woke up. That's it. It's done. I'm going to camouflage the pipe a bit now and take some pictures for Barbara. Then I'll open the pipe again. That's what he did. Selena was uneasy. All the way home, she begged that Angelica wouldn't suffocate, that it would all be over sooner. Maybe with her nerves, she shouldn't be a detective anymore. A florist or an accountant would be much better. You can sit back, nothing to threaten you. How could she have gotten herself in such a mess? Meanwhile, John, her colleague, who should also suffer and agonize, sits at home and devours a second box of pizza with sausage or cheese. Celine's musings were interrupted by Billy's voice. That's it. Here we go. Celine thought for only a second. Then she asked decisively, Can I stay with you tonight? I'm scared to be at home. Billy smiled, and they walked toward the security building. Paradise Corner was glowing with colorful lights. Even in the morning, the village was busy, and the guards were working hard. Relatives and friends of the rich were coming to the village in luxury, expensive cars. In the middle of the Paradise Corner, the residents themselves installed a huge live Christmas tree. A joy for the next 2 or 3 weeks for the children of the majors. The tree was decorated with colorful lanterns and big balls. The smell of goodies and kebabs wafted everywhere. The male part of the population, traditionally only Harry's mansion, had not turned on its holiday lights this morning. The house was in a frenzy. Harry was throwing plates hysterically, Barbara screaming pleadingly for him to stop. The servants gathered in the dining room and watched Harry's son shamelessly destroy the holiday sets. Where's Angelica, you monster? He yelled at his mother. How many times have I told you to stop meddling? In my life. Another plate flew into the wall. Julian yelped and sat down. She didn't really want to get the next piece of dishware in her forehead. Selena woke up on New Year's Eve morning in Billy's arms. A strong wind was blowing through the window, small snowflakes flying. Here comes the last day. In this hellish place. Then freedom, thought the girl. She kissed the sleeping boy and quickly got ready. I wonder what's up at Harry's mansion. When Selena got to the house, she saw a stunning scene. Harry packing his suitcase, Barbara running from corner to corner and wringing her hands, Barry sitting in a chair, his face expressionless. Julian was crying in a corner. Marfa was running after the landlady with valerian and ammonia. Fine, now we have to wait until evening, Selena thought. She heard Marfa calling the guests and politely telling each one that the hostess was ill and the party at their house was canceled. It was a pity. There would have been many witnesses to Angelique's mysterious resurrection. Poor thing, she must be awake. Selena found Billy in the barn. It's time, he said. Wait, I'll get the car out and get the shovel. And I'll get a thermos. Poor thing's freezing. I'll get the tea. Selena shouted and ran into the kitchen. Juliana was there. She was sobbing on the table. When the girl came into the room, the cook rose and said, Barbara knows all about your plans. She is looking for you all over the house. Run, my girl. Selena turned around and wanted to open the door, but she was beaten to it. A strong and hard hand grabbed the girl by the scruff of the neck. It was Barbara. She let out a victorious yell and dragged Selena upstairs. No, Selena must go after Angelica now. At least Juliana had warned Billy. Let him go on his own, get the girl, while she diverts the old git's attention. Barbara closed the door noisily behind her and froze with triumph. I know all about you, you scum. Who you are and why you're here. I'm not letting you out of here alive. Selena remembered that she still had her tape recorder in her pants pocket. She decided not to waste any more time. Oh, come on. You hired me, Selena said wryly. The only thought in her head was, what an Addams family. Disgusting. If I had seen what could happen in that rich and old mansion before, I would never have worked there. Barbara frantically searched the nightstand for her pills. She cursed irritably every time she failed to find the vial in the next locker. Abandoning all vain efforts, the woman went to the safe, opened the code lock, and pulled out a gun. "If I had known who you were, I would have shot you back at the agency," she hysterically said, "and believe me, I would have gotten nothing for it. I'd have given money to the management. They'd have kept their mouths shut. What did you find out, you bitch?" "Just what I needed," Selena replied and laughed. "Tell me, how did you manage to cover up the mass murder of all of Harry's girls? And more importantly, why did you do it?" Barbara went quiet and asked in a whisper, sitting down on the bed, How did you find out about it?" "I didn't tell anyone. Even my husband sometimes didn't know how I had to hide the corpses." "So it was you who killed them?" "Well, not always." "Catherine, yes. I just overdid it with the poison. But the pathologist didn't even think to send the blood for poison testing. The rest of them were helped by drivers and guards." "So with Angelica," Selena replied slowly, "you gave her sleeping pills and decided to bury her alive?" "Well, I was fine with Angelica at first. I thought Harry would play with her and toss her aside like a tiresome toy. But he didn't. He got her pregnant. It was clear that we had to end it all." Barbara sighed noisily and scratched her temple with her pistol. "Why are you asking me all this? You're not going to live anyway. You think you can sneak out of my house. The guards have been serving me faithfully for a long time, so don't get your hopes up." Selena decided to ask one more question. "Why? Why did you do all this? Isn't it nice for a mother to know that her son is a happy family man? Harry tried to find his soulmate every time, but you wouldn't let him." "I grew up in a rich family," Barbara began. "No siblings. My parents spoiled me all the time. I was used to everything coming to me as a child. When I met Vitaly, I knew he would be mine too. Forever. Harry, though he grew up alone, without brothers and sisters, grew up different from me. My son was the life of the party. He liked to give and share. Basically, he did all the things that pissed me off. And I was jealous of all those girls who wanted to take my son away from me. Yeah, I got rid of them hard, but I love my Harry. Love can explain everything." "But it's a sick love," Selena said. "You're sick. You need to stay in the clinic under lock and key. How many victims have died at your hands?" "Probably more than 10 beauties. But I don't regret it one bit. They will only bring my son disappointment." "What about Angelique? She carried your grandson." "Angelique was a good girl, but she didn't know how to treat my Harry properly. They were always fighting." "Oh well, we talked enough. Don't worry, you won't suffer." Barbara was about to point the gun at the frightened girl, but there was a noise and the sound of breaking glass downstairs. A moment more, and people rushed into the landlady's bedroom. Billy, a pale Angelica, Harry, and many others. Maria was among them. She was crying. "Selena, are you all right?" A guard rushed to the girl. Selena was trembling, whether from fright or excitement. "Angelica," exclaimed the mistress, losing the remnants of sanity, "how did you get here? Aren't you dead?" The girl smiled sadly. "Yes, I was supposed to be buried, asleep. How cruel you have to be to get rid of yourself that way." Harry stepped out into the hallway and shouted to someone, "You can take it, it's okay." A raiding party flew into the bedroom in full armor. They threw Barbara to the floor. The woman didn't resist. She only moaned and threw angry curses. The investigation to solve the series of murders stretched on for a long time. Evil mistress of an ancient mansion killed more than one innocent girl, each one with particular cruelty. Barry and Harry were also charged with covering up the crime and helping to facilitate the atrocity. Selena was able to return home. The first thing she did was call Ariana. "Good afternoon. This is Selena. I can now tell you that your case has been reopened. Catherine is indeed dead, not dying of her own accord. I will give you the address of the investigation team that is currently looking into this." Ariana was grateful for the young detective's work. She even advised her acquaintances to contact Selena if suddenly need to solve an important and mysterious case. The entire staff of the mansion was fired and taken to interrogations for a long time. Angelica returned to her parents and was now enjoying her pregnancy with no mention of Harry. Barbara was placed in a mental institution where she was nursed back to health after another seizure. The forest, at Selena's request, had been completely checked and something terrible had been found there. In the thickest part of the forest, where it is difficult to pass without any sticks or axes, There were many bumps resembling graves. When the investigator, together with his team, exhumed the remains of the bodies, he confirmed that they were Harry's ex-girlfriends. Among them was Maria's daughter. When the former washerwoman found out about it, she went to the hospital with a heart attack. She could not calmly endure the fact that the favorite mistress ruthlessly massacred the only child of the servants. Also, traces of potent poisons were found in Barbara's bedroom. The vials themselves were nowhere to be found. Apparently, the cunning landlady had hidden them or disposed of the evidence. Selena and Billy kept seeing each other. The guy got a job at Selena's agency and now helped the girl in everything. John, when he found out that Selena had found a lover, was not very much upset. At that time, he had already found a beautiful person from a kind of intellectuals and spent a lot of time in her company. Selena just lay in bed for the first time and enjoyed the tranquility. At last, it was possible to lie down and not to clean anything. The girl was much interested in the details of the development of the case. How good that grief-stricken relatives were able to bury their children and calm down. After all, some had hoped for years that their daughters were missing. Selena learns that Juliana, the cook at the mansion, has taken a job at the local bakery as a baker and is even successfully improving her bread baking skills. John and Mila, Billy and Selena sat in a cozy cafe at the intersection of the main streets. Selena adored this place. She used to eat delicious buns and croissants here often, but now she just enjoyed the good company. Selena, the whole Paradise Corner is buzzing about you. John exclaimed happily in all the news feeds. You're a local celebrity now. You get the best-looking coffee cup. It doesn't matter which mug you drink from. The only thing that matters is that the contents are delicious, the girl replied. John laughed merrily. So when is the wedding, lovebirds? He asked Billy. He thought a moment and said, why don't you ask Selena? I keep calling her, but nothing. The fish aren't biting. Selena didn't say a word. She knew that Billy had received a letter from the police, calling him in for questioning. As a defendant, the idea that her boyfriend could be sentenced to prison made it hard to make any further plans for his life. Billy realized it himself, so he didn't stress the girl with his desire to start a family. It'll be okay, he said with a look to Selena, and she winked. When the investigation into Billy's involvement in the abuse and murder of the girls began, the prosecution got their way. The guy was facing 2 years in a high-security colony. Selena agreed to wait for him and not to meet anyone. It was a cold winter day. All the holidays had passed Selena by, so she decided to make up for it and have a small New Year's Eve party at home. When the girl finished, she was satisfied with her work. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with homemade toys. Selena, living alone, did not celebrate holidays at home. There were a couple of salads, tangerines, and a bottle of champagne on the table. Selena took another look around the room and was pleased with herself. What a hostess I am, she muttered to herself. The doorbell rang. There she was, standing there, red from the frost, and in her hands was a box with a red bow. Julian. The girl rushed to embrace her friend. The former cook had become close friends with Selena, and Selena often invited her for a walk or a visit. Now Julian came into the house and filled it with her laughter, lively smile, and joy. Do you think Billy will come back as he was before the colony? Selena asked Julian. She was silent for a while, finished her salad, and answered, You know, everything in life is fair. Many people have relatives dying, but that doesn't give a person absolutely no right to take the lives of others. In fact, Billy, like Barbara, is a killer. It's good for him to realize that, and also that when he gets out of prison, he remembers what he did and doesn't repeat his mistakes. Selena sighed and drank her glass of champagne in a gulp. She wished that all people with anger and hatred in them would one day realize that it was possible to live differently and appreciate every minute. The snow fell and fell. The friends were laughing loudly. Next year promised to be even more interesting.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.